Honored guests, dear participants, I bid you a warm welcome to the closing panel of the morning session here at the Finnish Finance Nature Summit. My name is Lasse Miettinen and I work as the Director of Sustainability Solutions at Sitra, the Finnish Innovation Fund. And it's a real pleasure to have such an esteemed group of panelists here at the stage today. The purpose of this panel is to reflect a bit on the keynote presentations we've heard this morning and delve a bit deeper into that, assess of where we are, what's the state of play today on the journey of the Finnish financial sector into grasping nature as a material issue for financial institutions. So we are going to ask what are the actions, what have been the actions taken, lessons learned, and what might be the next steps forward. And as the panelists were already introduced, and as time is short but the issues are big, let's go straight down to the heart of the matter. We'll do this in 2 rounds. First as a warm-up round devoted around the question of why nature matters. We've already heard a lot about it in the keynote presentations, but taking it to the specific perspective of insurance sector, banking sector, and pension insurance, and the experiences gained there. So let's start first with Juha Koponen, the Group President and CEO of local Tapiola Group. How would you put it? What sparked the realization that biodiversity and nature is a material issue for the insurance sector?
Well, thank you for the opportunity for being here. Do I hear? Okay, good. As we recognize the importance of the topic, the critical time for us to act, it's obviously better to have as many answers as possible to the question of why. And I very often hear the claim that this is going to be the license to operate in future. There is not going to be any other way for us if we want to have a good planet and if we want to have a good business. It's the regulatory minimum, etc., the demand from all our business partners, our customers, etc. But I would claim it is much more than this. It's not only the license to operate. In insurance business, obviously, it's a lot about risk management. So it's already a standard part of our risk and solvency assessment to also take into consideration the environmental risks. And this is going to be excessively important as time goes by because the environmental risks will only grow. And then I would like to raise the third point, which actually came across from Jennifer Wu's excellent presentation, that this is also a business opportunity, because the core essence of the finance sector is to be a marketplace in our society, a marketplace for sharing risk and for transferring capital, and the demand for this marketplace will be increasingly towards environmentally certified, assessed products and services, which we can either utilize as Finland, as a country, to be a front runner as a business, or we can be a laggard, which I don't think we want to be. We do not think that way, and we do not want to leave a planet like this for our children. So there are very many reasons for this, and this is very visible already, even if we are in the starting position.
Thank you, Juha Koponen. I think that was a really exciting way to put the matter, that there is a multitude of answers to the question why. And turning over to Sara, how about from the banking sector's perspective, what sparked the realization that biodiversity is a material issue for the banks and their strategy?
As a large bank, we in Nordea, of course, are exposed to many sectors. And as operating here in the Nordics, where sustainability overall is already very high on the agenda, we're of course very aware of the problems related to the biodiversity loss. And if we think of biodiversity, it is actually a prerequisite for a sustainable development and sustainable future. And now then taking a starting point of our customers, as we always do. Whatever we do, we always start and end with our customers. This means that our customers, they are both dependent on, but they also impact in their actions the future. And so do we through our customers, but also with our own actions. And if now, if we don't take an action, if we don't act upon, or if the society overall and all players in the society don't act upon on this risk, it means that there are more of these financial risks probably impacting our customers' business. It was quite well described in the keynote speakers. And of course, as a consequence of that, financial risks also to us. So we see it as our role is to help, support, and enable our customers to manage their financial risks. And therefore, that's also a way for us to be more in control of our risks. So that's one of the key reasons also to be on top of this topic. And then the more positive key reason is that, of course, we clearly understand our role as a bank to be very powerful in terms of steering capital to areas that are doing right for the future.
Thank you, Sara Mella. And moving on to Carl Haglund, CEO of Veritas. What's been, in your mind, the wake-up call for the pension insurance business? What made the sector realize that nature really matters?
I would maybe say this has been a journey. I don't think there's any single event that has brought about this. I would maybe describe it in a way where we were, let's say, the past decade, maybe 2 decades even, if you want to take a positive perspective, we've been very much aware of the impact that climate change has on our planet. However, the focus has very much been on climate change, while we in the past years have seen a broader awareness around natural capital and biodiversity. So I wouldn't maybe claim there's one single factor issue that made this a topical issue, but now it definitely is. It's been in that sense a positive awareness journey, and is moving in a direction where I think Juha described it well, that it's becoming a bit of a sort of license to operate thing for large institutional investors. And as Sara was saying, that as all of us that act in this industry have a large responsibility to the fact that we steer a lot of capital to our economies, the responsibility is with the large institutional players in the financial sector. JP Morgan Chase, of course, as one of the global really large ones, has, for example, taken a really strong stance, which we heard before, but you can see across the industry that there is a broad awareness. Then there are a number of challenges around the fact that we don't have sufficient data yet, as we all know, etc. So at this point in time, it's also a lot about trying to create a methodology that actually is impactful, which is honestly speaking quite challenging, but I think over the fact that there is a willingness to do so in combination with the fact that we will be getting regulation, hopefully better data, it's going to be also more powerful and meaningful to actually take action that we believe will then be sufficient in order to take us in the right direction.
Thank you all for the really insightful remarks you just shared. I think from your answers it's quite clear that we are living in it at the moment when all the different answers to the why question, they converge to the point where action happens and is taken. And that's a good bridge to our next part of our discussion, the how part. To move on to that, I'd just like to invite you three to reflect on the actions you've already taken within your companies, your groups, and your sector, and perhaps the lessons learned in there, and also as a bonus item, you are also welcome to reflect on the steps ahead that you see. let's go about this in a reverse order and give Carl Haglund the chance to proceed from your last remarks. What's in your mind? What's been the key action or actions taken so far at Veritas, and how do you envision the next steps ahead to the future?
Well, actually, picking up where I just left off. So, I mean, the key point being that the more data and the more factual understanding we have on how our investments impact nature and biodiversity, of course, it's after that fairly straightforward to act upon that and steer capital and make investment decision based on that, as we have done from a climate and carbon perspective already for a longer time being. We have modeled our portfolio, or let's say try to model our portfolio with a natural capital impact, but the data, of course, sets some limitations to that. But the fact that we have done so is, I think, already a big step, and we have sort of figured out how to do so. And then when we get more data, it will, of course, be more impactful and be more useful to us in our decision making when we make decisions. The other thing we've done is that we joined this initiative, which is called Nature Action 100, which is an industry-led initiative. There is starting to be a lot of industry-led initiatives that are bringing the industry forward on a, let's call it, voluntary basis, not just driven by regulation, but also by the industry's own ambition to actually be more impactful in this area. So that's also something we've done in recent times. But there's a lot more action to be done, definitely.
Thank you. And Sara Mella, how would you describe Nordea's present position on the journey towards internalizing biodiversity as a material issue for you and your strategy, and what's ahead for the banking sector?
First of all, I would say that we have a evolving, risk-based, sustainable approach, and we're very committed to integrate biodiversity into our business model and our governance and risk management. And I can share 3 examples what we've done so far. First of all, when it relates to lending, which is the very, very core of our business, of course, we have sector guidelines. We've done sector guidelines and examples to mining, fossil fuel, agriculture, forestry, real estate, relevant ones in this context. And through those guidelines, we express our expectations and our requirements to our clients. What is it that we expect them to do in terms of integrating biodiversity into their business? Also, we are looking at what type of plans do they have in terms of their environmental planning, and how we expect them to also integrate biodiversity into their decision-making processes. So this means that our ability to provide lending in these sectors are also very dependent on, do we see credible plans, what our customers have, are they progressing in their plans in terms of how all of these things are integrated in their business. The second thing, what we've done relates very much on the fact that we are, of course, as a large bank, we are a very big asset manager. So 360 billion euros we have asset under management. And our responsible investment policy is the vehicle, I would say, to impact the investee companies. So we need hugely the management of investing companies. We're very active in the AGMs also. And we, through our investment policy, express also the expectations we have on how the companies are integrating biodiversity into their management. And I would say that, which is actually a fantastic thing, is that as we provide investment services to our clients, it doesn't matter if you're a big investor, or a very small one, you can still join the movement. If we take just a individual customer, retail banking customer who wants to put a little bit aside every month, so 50 euros on a monthly savings, we invite that customer to join that big massive flow of investments and impact to different investing companies. So we're also taking our role of inviting the large society to join the movement, and everyone should be able to think that my money, whether it's small or big, it matters, and I can make an impact. So that's a very, I would say, powerful way how we can, carry the torch of this topic in the societies. Then the third example relates very much, of course, our own procurement and how we interact with different suppliers that supply to us. And as a large company with a lot of stakeholders, having very high standards of how we scan our suppliers in terms of their actions related to biodiversity is of course impactful. And if all large companies and with a lot of stakeholders do that, I think that has a big impact.
Thank you, and I think that's a really powerful message you're sending here about the no matter what size the actor is, big or small, everybody can have a part to play and have a measurable, meaningful impact. And financial institutions sort of also providing a platform for that impact and a facilitator of that impact. That's something I think we really need at this junction. Moving on to Juha Koponen, the same question to you from the local Tapiola group's perspective. What would you like to highlight about the steps already taken, and what do you see as the next biodiversity steps ahead?
This starts to feel like a little contest of competition, just who is doing the most for the good cause, and who wouldn't want to cherish their own organization and praise it. And I could say that, yeah, we are committed to being net zero, carbon neutral by 2025, which is not so far away, or that we are committed to the UN principles for sustainable insurance, I think the first one in Finland. Or I could talk about how we contribute money to good causes because we are owned by our 1.6 million customers. So they expect us to be particularly close to the topics which are important to them. And this is a privilege for us to be able to divide from the eventual surplus. But let's put this aside. I would want to continue on the idea of the whole finance sector contributing to a better future. And I think this is where local Tapiola, among others, and with my colleagues here, is together contributing, and this is information gathering, information transparency, and sharing information about the impact of what not only we do, but what we are financing or insuring, and how what is scope 3 or even further away from us in this categorization of environmental impact does have. And there, when we strive to be a front runner in opening up the market for environmentally, ecologically considered certified products and good information for the investors as well as investees about the whole value chain, we can make a much, much, much bigger impact on our future than by just adapting our own operations. And information is a lot about metrics. We are now in the beginning of developing the metrics, and that's where we should contribute very much together for external purposes, but for internal purposes, so that we can incentivize also our own people to develop our activities to the right direction. Then this is not going to be easy if there are over 3,000 different alternatives as metrics. We need to have something which is transparent, understandable, easy to adapt. And this is something for us to do together and put focus on together.
Thank you, Juha Koponen. I think that's powerful message that really combines with what's already been said earlier today about this being a journey in which nobody can succeed alone, but which needs a common effort. Sara, Mella, Carl Haglund, I'd like to invite you to join the discussion about what do you see as the key things the financial sector can achieve together? Where do you see the greatest points for cooperation?
I think one key thing which all of us can do, of course independently, but then also jointly start setting, of course, certain, or try to seek certain type of standards in terms of what is it that we jointly can do, and what does good look like in terms of the different operators in the finance sector. And I see one of the key things that all of us need to continue is to innovate and develop products that are both lending and investment products that are appealing to our customers, that are inviting our customers to do good with their money. And I definitely want to highlight the role we have, as mentioned already earlier, and the responsibility we have to steer capital in the right investments and in the right direction to make the world better. So it's more to continue to innovate in this area.
Just to pick up on that, for instance, the AGMs were mentioned before, so there many times the institutional investors are not alone as investors, but there are numerous institutional investors present at the AGM, so already there with common action taken as joint investors in various companies in the future with proper data and proper understanding of the impact the company in question is having on nature or biodiversity or climate can help us to take things in the right direction. The other one being then regulation, because as Juha was saying, there is a certain risk that we will now create a regulatory framework that strives to bring us in the right direction, but the complexity of it might not be the most easy to implement in a way that actually helps us to make the right decisions, and hence we will have a joint interest there in order for this not to become some sort of greenwashing phase. We've seen that before at an earlier state around climate change. I think we've now been able to get past that, but I think also here there's a certain risk that we will see a phase where there will be a certain level of greenwashing in order to sort of state as actors in the industry that we are doing the right things, but then whether the right things actually are done in reality is then often a different thing. And here again, the more we work together and also have a standardized way of approaching this that is actually impactful, it will then bring us forward.
Thank you all. You have been remarkably concise in the very tight time constraints we have. I see we have still time for half a minute's summarizing or closing statement from each of you. I'd like to ask all of you to provide a future-oriented call about what you'd like to see happen next in the broad field of key, vitally important things we've been discussing here. Juha Koponen, would you like to go first?
The environmental issues are extremely important, and we in the finance sector have a unique opportunity for grasping this time, this need, and making a contribution. At the same time, the finance industry is recognized now as a growth area in Finland, also in the government program of the country. Perhaps the sustainable products, the investment products, are one such area where Finland would have a competitive edge, also allowing other sources of funds from other countries to come and help to build, for example, renewable energy resources.
Thank you. Carl Haglund, on to you.
As you wanted us to end on a positive note, I want to pick up on what was said earlier by JP Morgan Chase around good investments also being good for nature and for climate. In the long run, as was stated, a good investment is not sustainable without a sustainable approach around nature. So I think that is something that anyone can bring along, that this long-term approach on this will bring us forward. And that sort of interlinks to what Juha was saying, that Finland has a unique opportunity, especially in the energy production, etc., to be a place where we can do things in a sustainable way that also brings along a very positive opportunity for Finland, which it needs with a fairly weak economic development in the past 15 years.
Thank you. And Sara Mella, on to you.
And I'd like to encourage all of us in the finance sector in Finland that we can, together of course with the already mentioned great plans that our government is now putting on the finance sector, that together we can do more we do today. Together we can also help lift Finland as one of the leading countries, not only in the Nordics but in the Europe and globally, why not, as well to be the front runner in this area.
Thank you so much, all of you. I think this ended really well with a note of the unlocking the opportunities, not just the risk management, but the tremendous opportunities in this transition, and it can be achieved, it can be done together. Thank you all, thank you everybody.
Good.